Hey everybody, it's Micah. So today this is my gym day, but I decided that for one, I didn't know exactly what, I have this problem with my chest muscle. I pulled a muscle in my chest. So that means that many of the exercises that I planned on doing, I can't really do because it affects my chest. Many of the exercises that I do are typically what are called compound exercises. They exercise more than one muscle group in your body. And so my chest muscles are often necessary for lifting the heavy weights. And so it's possible for me to do exercises that don't incorporate this muscle, but I don't know which ones to do or what kind of routine to have. And some of I don't know how to use some of the machines yet to do some, like I can do lower body exercises without using any of my upper body by using certain machines. But I haven't watched any YouTube videos on how to safely use those machines. So I decided instead that I would spend some time just looking up some exercises that I can do without using this muscle in my chest. So what I decided was to focus on exercises that exercise my core and my back, and then I would maybe do some dumbbell exercises with this arm and this side over here, while giving this side some time to heal. But I didn't know exactly which exercises to do, so I skipped the gym today. I took a walk with Takai and had a nice conversation, and then maybe about 10 minutes ago I did some ab exercises using a routine that I found on the internet. And what I found out was that my abs are very weak, and what that means is that during many of the exercises, my leg muscles tend to take more priority in my movement. So I unconsciously use my leg muscles more to make up for the lack of strength in my abs. And I think probably my current problem is related to lack of core strength. So in order to do some of the exercises that I've been doing, I need to have a bit more flexibility in my legs than I currently have. And because of that, my lower back arches when I do certain exercises, and that's not good, because when I do what are called squats, or when I do squats, what that means, you know what squatting is, but basically when you're doing a squat exercise, you're doing a similar movement. You don't go all the way down in the movement, but you have some weights that you're holding on your shoulders, and you do that squat movement. But you have to be careful to keep your back neutral, which means you're supposed to keep your back straight. You can't let your shoulders arch like this from trying to pull the weight using your shoulders or your upper body. You can't do that. You have to hold it like this. So for squats, that's not such a big deal, because you're kind of actively flexing in the opposite direction, right? Using your shoulder muscles to protect your shoulder bones from the weight of the bar. But with squats, your lower back, if I'm not very careful to maintain this neutral back, because of lack of flexibility, I will naturally arch my back, and that can create problems for my lower back. I talked about those before. I had a kind of minor sharp pain in the back and my lower back. And with another exercise called deadlifts, that problem is can be much more severe, and it also requires much more flexibility in my legs, specifically in what are called the hamstrings, the muscle that's in the back of the leg below the glutes, below your butt. So I did some more YouTube watching by a famous guy on the internet, and he said that a lack of core strength will cause your hamstrings to try to take up some of the slack that your lack of muscle strength in your abs cause. So what I'm realizing is that before going into some of these harder exercises, I need to first focus on really strengthening my core and my back. So those are exercises that I can do without using my chest muscles. I can just focus on my mid-body and work on those. So that's kind of where I'm going to focus for maybe the next couple months while this is healing and I'm not able to really exercise it very much. But I'll probably look up some more exercises. I did one set of exercises. It's only 7 minutes of ab stuff, and so I'll just do that every day. And that means that I can, on my normal gym days, I'll try to find some leg exercises that I can do that are not compound exercises that only work my lower body. And I'll do dumbbell exercises on my left arm. The nice thing is that my left arm is not my dominant arm, so it's actually naturally weaker than my right arm, and of course my chest too. So which means is that actually I probably would have needed to do some extra work on my left side anyway. And the exercises that I was doing before purposefully remove some of that complexity because it's a bar where you're holding it with both your arms, with both your hands. You don't notice the imbalance in strength. You can lift the bar with both arms and you don't really notice the lack of strength, although I actually did. I noticed that I was pushing much stronger with my right arm than I was with my left arm. So actually I needed to work on my left arm anyway. So it's a good opportunity to work on this side. I also have to work on my back, but anyway, I have to kind of test some things out with this muscle just to make sure I don't hurt it. So yeah, that's what I've been doing fitness-wise today. I've also been continuing to read that book that I talked about before called Persuasion. Let me bring it up here just to show the cover again. So I showed this before. This is the book Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. And I've learned a lot of very interesting things. I'll have to reread this book maybe 2 or 3 times because there's a lot of very important information about how to change minds. So persuasion, as you can imagine, means doing something before you persuade someone. And essentially his thesis is that before you can persuade someone, before you can influence someone, there are many different ways you can prime them, many different ways that you can focus their attention, many different ways that you can create certain associations between your ideas, the thing that you're trying to persuade them of, you can make associations with something else that will make them more open to what you have to say or what you have to sell, for example. And it also has implications for my personal life. So there's like a lot of things. I've already talked about a little bit of it. Some things that I learned today. Okay, so where should I start? So things that I learned today were in the part called processes, the role of association. So before, in the previous, in the first part, he talked about front-loading ideas to start by priming people with certain information, certain words, certain pictures, whatever, to prime someone to make them more open to your ideas later. And that there are many different complex ways that the front loading works. But in this second part, the role of association, he talks about how we are, how can I say, we can become more open-minded about something depending on what it's associated with. So, for example, the part that really stood out to me is let's see here. He says something in a chapter called The Primacy of Associations. I link, therefore I think. And he says thinking is linking. And what he says is that in various influence training programs, it's common to hear instructors advise participants that to convince others to accept a message, it is necessary to use language that manages the recipient's thoughts, perceptions, or emotional reactions. That strikes me as partially right. We convince others by using language that manages their mental associations to our message. Their thoughts, perceptions, and emotional reactions merely proceed from those associations. In other words, they start with associations, and then you take those associations. You start with an idea, emotion that they associate with an object or an idea, and then you attach it to some other idea, creating an association. And he goes on. Nowhere are the implications for effective messaging so stark than in a relatively recent research program designed to answer the question, what is language principally for? The leader among the group of researchers pursuing the line of inquiry is the renowned psycholinguist Gun Semin. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. Whose conclusion, in my view, comes down to this. The main purpose of speech is to direct listeners' attention to a selected sector of reality. Once that is accomplished, the listener's existing associations to the now spotlighted sector will take over to determine the reaction. For issues of persuasion, this assertion seems to me groundbreaking. No longer should we think of language as primarily a mechanism of conveyance, as a means for delivering a communicator's conception of reality. Instead, We should think of language as primarily a mechanism of influence, as a means for inducing recipients to share that conception or, at least, to act in accord with it. When describing our evaluation of a film, for instance, the intent is not so much to explain our position to others as to persuade them to it. We achieve the goal by employing language that orients recipients to those regions of reality stocked with associations favorable to our view. So, if you're describing a movie and you're trying to say how cool it is, you're not going to say that, oh man, it was so awesome, it made me want to just cry and then have explosive diarrhea. You never say that. Oh man, I laughed so hard that, oh man, I thought I was just gonna have a heart attack. Oh man. You don't want to say things like that. Instead, you want to have kind of positive images in people's heads of what you are laughing at, why it's so entertaining. Of course, some people do use those negative words, which, the heart attack idea comes to mind. But that's not exactly a positive association. You want more positive associations. So that's a very interesting idea that you start. This is what Scott Adams often refers to. I think is related to what's called I can't remember the exact word, but basically your bias, right? You basically act on your biases. So your association of let's say Donald Trump. If you associate Donald Trump with Hitler, then that's a bias. Your bias is Trump is like Hitler. And if you associate Trump with, if you think that Hitler is bad, then by association, you see Trump as bad. Whereas maybe other people might associate Trump with wealth, success, and building. In that case, if their idea about those things is success is good, making money is good, building things is good, if they have positive associations, positive emotions built into those things, into those actions, then by association, they find Trump to be a good person. And so they start with those emotions, right? So there's that bias that you begin with, and then you work with, and then later you will you will rationalize reasons why you, for example, voted for Trump. So you will say that you had a rational reason, but actually you started with biases that you later rationalized after already basically making your decision. Kind of short on time. One other thing that I learned in particular today, let's go back here, learned about decorating and about the importance of your environment. He said that, Robert Cialdini said that at one point in his career, he was working at a university. He works at one university. For a short time, he was working between one different university and an apartment that he was renting. And so he would write in those two places. And he realized after about a month that the quality of his writing that was aimed towards normal people was much higher when he wrote it at his apartment than he did at his office at the university. And the reason why he believes is because from the university, he has it next to the window, and he can see out into the buildings of the university and all the smart people out there, whenever, right? All the academics. Whereas at home, in his apartment, he had his office next to a window. He had a window office, and outside his window, he could see just normal people walking down the street, going to work, driving their car, riding their bike, whatever, just minding their own business. And having those people there as a reminder of, as a passive reminder of who he was writing for, increased the quality of his writing when it was directed towards them. And so as a consequence, what he started doing was he rewrote everything that he wrote at university back at home later. And then after he did that rewriting, he focused on writing for for other academics at the university, and for normal people he wrote at home at his apartment. And another example that he gave was the example of, I have to probably don't have much time. I'll do that next time. I'll talk about that next time. But more and more, I'm learning that the environment in which I work has actually a lot more influence on my ideas and on my energy level and on my general overall well-being than I have ever believed before. And as a result, after reading Scott Adams' book, where he said that just having a nice room, if you decorate the room sorry, the recording cut off there. My camera is stupid. Anyway, I'll go back. So I've been learning about the importance of decorating, and I realize that I need to be much more conscious of my environment, and I need to be more I have to do a lot more work to improve my environment, because simply by making my environment better, not only can I increase my energy levels and my general well-being, but also I can increase the quality of my work. Whatever I do at home, I can do better if I decorate and make my environment cleaner and nicer and better. And one thing that I've started to do already was start a project with Takai where we will start decorating the office with photos that we take. Obviously, we're photographers, so we take nice pictures. That gives us an opportunity to put them on the wall. And that has a lot of different bonuses. For example, it gives me and Takai a chance to maybe compete a little bit, because right now we have 3 picture frames that we bought from IKEA recently. One is kind of a pretty large one, and then 2 smaller ones. And so the system that we have right now, the idea is for each of the smaller ones, I will choose one and she will choose one. But for the larger one, we have to decide together which photo to put in there. And we will replace the photos every month. So we'll have 3 new photos every month that we post on the wall. My idea is to slowly accumulate picture frames and then just cover the walls with it. I've actually done something similar in the past when I was practicing kanji. I would write kanji on a piece of paper, and then when I filled up a whole page with kanji, I would tape the paper to the wall, and so I had a whole wall filled with just kanji on it. So I plan on doing something similar with photos. I want to have kind of a rotating 12-month cycle of new photos. But for right now, we're starting small with just 3, and maybe we'll start working on like an album. Takai says maybe a calendar. Maybe we can do both. It doesn't, we don't have to really do only one thing. We can do 2 things. Anyway, So I am learning the importance of my environment, and I am working. As soon as I learned about it, I thought, I need to change my environment right now. I have to do it right now. And so I've started doing that. And I'll have to work on a lot more stuff. I have to work on being a lot less messy, a lot more clean, and a lot less cluttered in order to improve the quality of my environment. And in the future, when we rebuild this house, we also have to consider the importance of the environment, of windows to see nature, of the importance of the quality of lighting, not only in the studio but also in the house. And we have to consider how to decorate it and how to organize and keep things uncluttered and whatever. So there are going to be a lot of changes that we have to make in order to improve our environment. But I'm looking forward to making those changes, because I really do think, and this is the first time I'm thinking this in my entire life, that really improving the quality of my environment can have stark and unexpected benefits for other things that are important to me as well. So anyway, that's it for today, and I'll see you next time and give you some more updates on what I'm doing with this and what I'm reading. All right, so I'll see you next time.